Wait, what? Moving forward. Oh, are you on the right? Wait, how am I logged into Moving Forward podcast?
Oh, you're on your laptop. That would be me having uploaded stuff.
Oh, okay. So I need to log out, log in, kind of thing, right?
And it actually caught that, which is fun. Anyway, so we're live now.
Oh, well,
copy video URL.
Crap, I have no way to figure out how to get to where I need to be here. Hang on.
Hey, try this. YouTube.com/C/copy left.
What a great idea. All right, there we go. I got us now. But I'm commenting. I'm commenting as Moving Forward podcast.
I mean, I should actually probably
which could be fun.
Do some like cross pollination, that kind of thing.
Morning, I'm Rio, and socialists are really Nazis.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, no. I mean, that is the target rich environment, my Rio. We're actually talking to Scott Zantz today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some friends that were really, really impressed with the kind of guests you've been drawing on Moving Forward.
Cool.
Yeah, switch accounts. That's the button I was looking for.
I only had to pay Greg like $2 for that comment.
What's happening now? Okay,
kidding.
So now I'm commenting as me.
Excellent.
Good morning, everyone.
So yeah, I called this one "Pardon Party Still Packed Swamp" because we're pardoning lots of like legit corruption level criminals. Which, I mean, and that, like, all of them, that's what they were. Which,
nope,
is
not all of them.
Okay,
and I have a point to make about that. But
okay, so
mostly
with your
diatribe, and then I will.
Mostly then a large number of corruption centric people, maybe with an exception. I'm excited to hear about that. But it's 2 days before the Roger Stone set things, so this is all like, hey Roger, don't say anything, because I'm going to pardon you. Look at me using my pardon power like a big boy. So that's all I got on that. I mean, does everyone know that Trump is actually super corrupt and tripling down on corruption at every turn? Yes. But, Bloomberg would be just as bad, or Bernie Sanders would be just as bad. To all of those people, shut the fuck up. It's ridiculous. It is really ridiculous.
But Corey, the president cares about corruption. I mean, look at everything he's done to help Ukraine.
Yeah, he's trying so hard.
Cares about corruption.
Anyway, that drives me freaking bananas. Like, do a little bit more homework. And I wonder if, I think people are so focused on the primary that, they're not covering Trump the way that we are, right? Like, every time something happens, we know about it because we're actively engaged in that and covering it. So I can see, like, if you're a super low information voter, and I don't mean that as an insult while also meaning it as an insult.
I was going to say,
and you haven't seen what's going on at the Supreme Court. You haven't seen what's going on at the Department of Justice. And you think that, like, literally any presidential candidate in modern times could be plausibly anywhere near as bad as Donald Trump. You need to pay way more attention to what Donald Trump is actually doing, because it is much worse.
But Mike Bloomberg.
That's all I'm getting on Twitter, is that they're basically identical. Like, oh, because they're both billionaires. Just kidding. Only one of them is a billionaire. Like, do your fucking homework. Like, it's incredible. But I mean, dude, there's people that are saying that Bernie Sanders would be just as bad too, and they are just as stupid.
Yeah. I think that the place that I want to plant my feet firmly and hold on for dear life, because it's going to be a weird season, is when you are posting about who can't beat Donald Trump, you are guaranteeing that's the result. That all of these Democratic candidates can beat Donald Trump, but not alone. Not with us taking a giant shit on the things that they've done and said in the past. They can win if we are out knocking doors and making phone calls and supporting the eventual nominee. It's primary season. Vote your heart, man. Vote your heart. Vote for the person you love, even if you have to write in Marianne Williamson. We don't fucking care.
Oh, there's tons of people that are like, oh, I still want to vote for Andrew Yang in the primaries. Fucking
what are you doing? But frankly, voting for a viable candidate in the primary makes their fundraising easier, right? Makes it more likely that they're going to collect enough money to stay in the race. Right. So I love Andrew Yang, and I love the people that love Andrew Yang, but for fuck's sake.
Well, hey, you just said that people should vote for their.
I know I did. I meant among the candidates that are still on the ballot and in the race.
Now there's that's the thing. Like I'm at the point right now.
What an unreasonable caveat that would be.
It's not at all. Don't yell at me. I'm very fucking sensitive. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm using you as a proxy.
No, that's fair. Something that I'm starting to understand about some sort of quote unquote independent minded people in American politics is that they want to wear their vote as a badge, and they don't know, care, or understand that there is consequences to their vote.
Right.
Like, I want to do this thing because I want this to say something about me. But the problem that these people are missing is that vote will do something. That will have an effect, especially if you talk about it in a way that gives cover for other people, maybe even in swing states, to talk and feel that same way and then do that same thing so that their vote can say something when, in fact, last time that kind of vote got Donald Trump elected president of the United States.
Yeah.
Right. By exact numbers, the people that voted for Jill Stein, because they wanted to say something with their vote, elected Donald Trump.
They said
you don't get to say, oh, I want to do that because I voted my heart. Here's what you did, though. You fucking voted Donald Trump into office.
Right. Well, that's the general, right? We're talking about the general.
Right. But I mean, the smaller version of that is the microcosm in the primary, right?
I got you.
And I'm in my heart much more lenient about that. This is a big fucking shit show in the Democratic Party right now. You know, it trying to be tactical in this moment as a voter before Super Tuesday, I don't even think will mean anything. Picking a candidate and doing the fundraising thing, I think is a really good point, right? As far as that goes. But yeah, I mean, writing in Andrew Yang as an entertaining, protest thing, it doesn't actually bug me that much compared to those same people saying, "Oh, I'm not going to vote in the general, or I'm going to write his name in the general." Like, do that. Like I'm going to blame the 7-2 Supreme Court for the rest of time on you guys,
right?
Like I guess, right at your face.
When I think about who was drawn to the Yang campaign, and I don't want to get lost down a Yang rabbit hole necessarily, but maybe this is something important to consider. A lot of the people that were drawn to the Yang candidacy were people who had not voted before, or had not voted in a long time, or had felt like disincluded from the system. And that's different than disenfranchisement, by the way. There are 3.2 million disenfranchised voters in the state of Florida. And your state legislature is trying to make it harder for them to vote, despite the fact that we changed the fucking Constitution to allow it. Right? If you're playing games with your vote, you're disrespecting people who have waited 20 years to have their voting rights restored. We have personal friends who have been in that fight. And it's ugly to hear people, joking around about what they're going to do with their vote. When I know those people want to vote and make a difference and they can't. So that's a little aside. But when I think about the people that were drawn to the Yang candidacy, one of the things I think I might tell them is I'm an old voter. I've been voting in presidential elections since I was 18 years of age, right? And if you think that I have never had to hold my nose and vote for a nominee, you're wrong. You're wrong. I've made many uncomfortable votes. I voted for Hillary Clinton in the last election. She wasn't my friend. I voted Bernie in the primary. Right. So when you say, well, I'm so frustrated with the system and I'm going to check out and we can't possibly elect, Michael Bloomberg. Okay. Or whoever it is that you have a personal axe to grind with. And for me, it's Tulsi Gabbard, really. Listen, if you're making that calculation and you think that you're some sort of hot rod rebel, I have news for you. We've all voted for people we weren't particularly fond of in state, local, and national races. So suck it up, kids. Let's do the thing. The biggest danger to our democracy is not Michael Bloomberg and it's not Tulsi Gabbard. He's sitting in the fucking White House pardoning millionaire contributors to his campaign for financial crimes, while minorities who've done nothing more serious than sell marijuana are sitting in prison for 10 to 12 to 15 years. This is a man who once wanted 5 young men executed for a crime they had not even been tried for yet. And it turns out they didn't commit it. That's who we're trying to replace. And any calculation that doesn't end with us all voting for whoever it is that gets that guy out of office is spurious and infantile. And you should stop doing that. It's the primary season. Vote for who you love in the primaries. But taking a giant shit on the other candidates or telling you there's no one that aligns with my values is bullshit. Yeah. It's just bullshit. You're not reading their platforms.
It's bad math is what it is, right? Yeah. And you might hear something. Some of the frustrating stuff. So I've got some bones to pick with the way the Bernie Sanders campaign is being run this time.
Yeah.
But the most of the things that are being said negatively about his campaign aren't first order things from the campaign necessarily. And they generally ignore everything that's actually coming out of the campaign. Right. And I honestly disagree with, promising everyone the moon when he's not going to be able to deliver any of it. Like nothing that he's saying. I've been thinking a lot about, what passes the Senate, what passes the Congress, and none of it, like at all. Like it literally is just pie in the sky. And that worries me because of the amount of distrust that people have in government, right? Like we talk about the rise of authoritarianism, where that comes from is, people being sort of sold a bill of goods and then nothing happens, right? Or somebody tries to do something like the ACA and it's a pretty mixed bag, right? Depends on where you live as to whether or not your life is approved. And so anyway, but I mean, it's also good, I guess, and I've made this argument a number of times. We do need to have people that are on the edge of the Overton window, dragging things back to the middle, because obviously they're extremely center right now. So even just calling for single payer, Medicare for all. Well, you hear AOC literally came out 2 days after
Yang vote blue no matter out. Who. Vote blue no matter who.
Well, no, not only that. Okay. No. And obviously she did that. And I actually have Yang on a CNN saying the same thing. I'd like to play that for all my Yang Gang friends.
Yeah.
But the idea that you have somebody on the outside, basically what AOC was saying about healthcare was basically, we're probably going to have to come together around something a little bit more moderate or whatever. And it should be noted, every single person running in this primary right now has a more progressive healthcare plan than Obama had.
That's correct.
By huge margins.
Yeah.
Right. But I also think that one of the reasons why that's true is because you have a Bernie Sanders out there saying, fuck you, we're going to do single payer. And that scares the shit out of everyone. And then they're like, oh, well, maybe we should actually fix this thing. Yeah, you think? Right. And that way, when they're doing, the combination or the public option or whatever, when insurance companies are still going to be fucking losing their minds because that's a direct threat to them. Right.
Right.
They're going to say, hey, it's either this where you still have a business model a little bit, or Bernie Sanders and his mob will nuke you. Right. So it's a thing. Anyway.
And also I want to look back to AOC for just a minute. It was pretty extraordinary this week that she has endorsed Bernie, but what she said was whoever the eventual nominee is who we all need to get behind and support. Right.
That to me is it. You're that way, or again, and this has rubbed some people the wrong way. You don't get to pick what the result is of your vote. Right? You get to pick who you vote for.
Right.
And if your vote has the direct consequence of electing Donald Trump for another term, which could very easily literally destroy democracy in the United States, that's on you. Personally, individually. That is your choice to throw away, do whatever you want. As someone who can't vote and can just talk about it, that math is deeply unforgiving. And I'm never going to let anyone off the hook for that, ever. Honestly, your people feelings about it, just, it's pretty nuts. Anyway, this is Andrew Yang, who apparently is thinking about becoming a CNN correspondent.
Hey, wait, before you do that, we would love it if you guys would share this back to Facebook. Give us a like and share and subscribe if you have not.
Yes, please.
That'd be cool. We would like that. Okay, go on.
Who is the Democratic candidate best able to do that, to counter not just Trump himself, but Trump the message in the general election? Are you endorsing anyone?
Well, right now we're still obviously like reflecting on our own campaign. I'm already on the record saying I will support whoever the Democratic nominee is, and this process is very important for voters to make their voices heard and see what the direction of the party is. So no endorsements right now, though other candidates have been reaching out to me over the last number of hours, which I appreciate a great deal.
Andrew, I think many people discounted you way too early. Many people didn't think you'd make it this far. Are you going to run again?
Well, certainly the problems that animated my campaign are not going away, and I'm not going away. The Yang Gang's not going away. So the plan is to keep on pushing the ideas of this campaign across the finish line. So we're not going anywhere, and I would certainly not rule out running for office again.
Andrew, how do you feel about the bottom of a ticket? Do you want to be a vice presidential candidate?
Well, I would certainly be honored to serve as someone's running mate. I'm already on the record, too, saying if I can solve these problems as someone's vice president, a member of an administration, we just need to start solving these problems for the next generation, and I'm happy to do my part. I'm also happy to do my part to campaign for the nominee and beat Donald Trump in the fall.
There you go.
That's how you do it, folks.
So if that's what your dude is doing, that's what you should be doing. Whether you're Andrew Yang or anybody else who's dropped.
That's the thing. Well, and that's and this is the thing that people are genuinely getting concerned about now. And maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. Like, I know we lost a bunch of Bernie voters to staying home or going to Trump or whatever, but there was a bunch of Hillary voters that voted for McCain instead of Obama. So there's a certain number of that's going to be the case anyway. And that's the thing. I think people are just genuinely freaked out because it's all hands on deck, right?
Right.
Like that, I think it's that.
You're not wrong to freak out, but your response to what's happening,
right,
what you do after you're done freaking out is important.
Exactly.
Okay.
Have our freak out.
I want to go some comments.
Do it up.
Deb, that 46 million Americans did not vote in 2016. 46 million. Shame on you. Shame on you. While 3 million Floridians are not allowed to vote, you chose to stay home. Shame on you. Not cool. Your mom, Deb, says, I read a national poll that indicates that people who ordinarily don't vote, of those, 71% say they're voting this time. That's 71% of 46 million is a big number, Deb. You are not wrong. Jareen says 8:02 a.m. article dropped that Yang is joining CNN as a commentator. Not sure of the frequency, but I think it's good news. Yep. I'm going to gamble with you that that's throughout the presidential race. Like, I think he's being brought on specifically for the election.
Yeah. Until and unless he gets endorsed. It's actually an interesting way to stay a sort of ever-present part of the conversation. So
yeah, because everybody's staff is watching the news networks 24/7, so he'll be right in front of them all the time. That's a really good idea.
Honestly,
Andrew Yang is kind of famous for at this point.
it's a good business idea from CNN, because I've been seeing a lot of people, and I don't blame them for this. Like, there's people basically consuming as much Yang video content as they possibly could every single day. And there's a lot of people who are like, I got nothing to watch today. This is boring. So, those any video that he's in is going to be extremely well.
I want to address something Dave Meyer says here. And I'm heavily leaning towards Bernie. Cool. The reason Warren doesn't seem viable anymore, and the more I read about Bloomberg, the more I hate. Okay, here's the thing about Liz. She's third in the delegate count right now. I don't know where the idea is coming from that she's not viable. Her poll numbers are great, but she's third in the delegate count. That's not viable. That's viable. That's somebody that is absolutely 100% in the race. So I think that writing off Elizabeth Warren at this point is no, please don't do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And we'll see, Super Tuesday, we'll see how she does tonight or whatever. But I think it's been, her dip has largely been a media construction, based on a competitive race, and she's not the centrist darling that Amy Klobuchar is.
Right.
So
the thing for me about that is that Liz Warren has been consistently on this on this crusade to save America from big banks and financial oligarchy for a long time now, and she's very, very good at it. She got a federal agency created to protect consumers.
Yep, that is a thing.
That's more than a lot of other people in the race have ever accomplished.
Yeah, Super Tuesday. I think it's definitely true that, I mean, we could see some people get shaken out,
right?
If you're getting like 9% on Super Tuesday, the math breakdown for how much you have to win every single race moving forward after that becomes kind of insurmountable, right? So it's one thing if it's in these little rinky dink one state primaries and caucuses and stuff, but yeah, Mom said the mainstream media appears to be avoiding Warren like they did to Yang. Yeah, Warren media blackout is trending, actually.
Okay, but there's some responsibility for that with the campaign. Okay, let's
that's where it always has to go, because I mean the media is going to do.
You're looking for unearned media, meaning
right.
What are you saying? What are you putting out there that's getting the attention of people? And if you're not, they're going to roll right over you.
That's the sad fact is that the media is a 4-year-old and it's going to go wherever the shiny thing is every single time, right? Like that. That's just the case. And I was screaming at the Yang campaign, do not do this freaking blackout thing. It's obviously true, but if you don't know how to run the media as an operation, then you're gonna lose.
You need to fire somebody today.
That's the thing. Like the media strategy and outreach has to be on point.
Right.
And it might even mean, I mean, the sad example of this that is perfect is Trump. Right. Like he's and the sad thing is, like, he does it by just saying the dumbest thing humanly possible every single moment that he possibly can. And the news cannot look away from that. There's an argument, very, very sad. And Yang, is constitutionally incapable of being like that, but find something else, like whatever, is going to actually work.
There's an argument to be made that, if you like the two candidates in the race right now across the whole spectrum that are doing the best at media, at driving media, are Bloomberg and Trump. And that is because driving media takes money. Make your own media, right? That's easy to say, but when your campaign is struggling to staff up in a state and hire enough organizers to get out and knock doors and make phone calls, it's tough to put that money into the race. But I will remind people that the Obama campaign was not a wealthy campaign. They did it by innovating in social media, which now everybody's doing as a matter of course. So what's the next innovation? Right? What are you doing that's new and different than what was done before?
Yeah.
And to engage those people that aren't getting engaged. And Andrew Yang did an exceptional job of that.
Yeah. I mean, that's
considering that they started from absolute zero,
it's
zero
crazy.
Experience, zero, and let's say you're the media savvy guy in the room in Andrew Yang's campaign and you're giving them good advice. You know what? Other people are making those decisions above your head. So sometimes you can give good advice to a campaign, and for one reason or another, or one trusted advisor over another, it's not taken. There's a million little things that total up to a winning campaign. And,
or in Bloomberg's case, 400 million little things.
I mean, yeah, and that's one path. But it's, as we saw with the Obama versus Clinton, David versus Goliath struggle, it's not the only path,
right?
Having buckets of money and billionaire donors and ownership of the Democratic machine didn't get her the nomination when she ran against Barack Obama.
Yeah,
what worked is it really inspired young people is what worked for Barack Obama and minorities. And so who's doing that work?
Yeah.
That's where we're going to go. And it's early days. It's not even Super Tuesday yet. We've had exactly one caucus and one primary at this point.
Yeah, I think like Bloomberg is right in the sense that just on the math of you can actually ignore the first 4 states and just do really, really well in Super Tuesday, and you have a line. But I mean, he spent $400 million already. Like, he spent more than everyone else combined. So I mean, the discussion around buying an election. Yeah, elections can be bought. That's welcome to America, right?
Well, that's shocking.
Well, and the 5-4 decision that made Citizens United possible to make this kind of thing encoded and much, much worse. That was all Republicans that voted for that, right?
Yep.
And so if you're staying home, or if you're writing Yang in the general, I love the sentiment and I know where your heart is at. Please understand that Supreme Court, there will be 7-2 ultra conservative, literally religious psychos running the Supreme Court that aren't, when they're not being totally bought off by corporations. That'll be the case for the rest of your fucking life on this planet for at least 50 years. There is honestly, like, except for the stuff that's going on at the DOJ, nothing should scare you more than that. And it's something that we're gonna like really have to come to terms with. It's just watching people be super flippant about that kind of thing has been irking me.
It only changes if we support whoever the eventual Democratic Party nominee is for president of the United States.
Right. And honestly, like if it's Bloomberg, I'm gonna support Bloomberg. The fucking billionaire guy. I get it. And honestly, like, said some fucking crazy racist shit before. Like this is a thing.
Yeah.
But his judge picks will be in line with what can be passed from a Democratic Senate.
This was my argument against, not against, but my argument with people that didn't vote for Hillary Clinton because Bernie. You know what? She would have been worse than Trump. Are you fucking kidding me? Do you think she would have nominated Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court? Really? Is that what you think? Nope. I don't think. I think her first nominee probably would have been Merrick Garland. He was on that path for his entire career. So the idea that she would have been just as bad makes me want to punch you in the face when you say it. So there's a discussion going on in the thread about a Pokemon for Democrats and making them fight it out in things. And yeah, I mean, that turned serious and real. Or you could start a Minecraft server and make a giant "fuck Trump" sign in 200-foot tall letters,
right? And then get distracted and accidentally make a shrine to gratitude. Oops. Ruh-roh. Yep. Yeah, I was really sad. I was really sad that it's amazing how quickly that the Church of Reason became this thing that I really needed in my week. So that's fun.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
No. That's all right. It's amazing how fast the Church of Reason became a thing that like I genuinely miss when it wasn't there.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yeah, I want to go back to the pardons for a minute because we've been hearing a lot about the really obviously corrupt, shitty pardons. Rod Blagojevich, a Democrat. Like, so when people say, "Oh, well, you're only saying that because he's on your team," no, fuck that guy. He should remain in prison forever for his full sentence. And interestingly, the entire Republican delegation from Illinois is furious at Trump for pardoning Blagojevich, probably because he's a Democrat. I'm furious at Trump for pardoning Blagojevich because he was a fucking criminal and he did bad stuff, corrupt stuff, tried to sell the Senate seat. Come on, man. That's not cool. And the minute he got out, he started saying, "I didn't do it. I didn't do anything wrong." So absolutely no remorse, no feeling that he's humbled by being pardoned. For fuck's sake, that's not good. So that's one. Ed DeBartolo Jr., the former owner of the San Francisco 49ers, who paid a bribe of $400,000 to the former governor, Ed Edwards, to secure a riverboat gambling license. Ariel Fiedler, a technology entrepreneur, pleaded guilty in 2014 to conspiracy to access a protected computer without authorization and served 2 months in prison, according to a statement from the White House. Mr. Fiedler has since dedicated his life to promoting veterans issues and helping former prisoners re-enter society. Okay, so that's a pardon I can see. I can see why you would do that. It's a white collar crime, and I get that there are lots of people that need to be pardoned that aren't white collar criminals. But I can see that. I can see why that's a reasonable pick. So listen to this. Tyneese Nicole Hall was sentenced in 2006 after she was convicted on various drug charges in Lubbock, Texas. According to the Justice Department, the evidence at trial showed that Mrs. Hall's residence was used as a stash house for drugs by her boyfriend, who was the main target of an investigation, according to court documents. The police found large quantities of crack and powder cocaine and loaded firearms in her apartment. She has spent the last 14 years in prison, where she has participated in apprenticeships, completed coursework toward a college degree, and led educational programs for other inmates. That's a pardon that I can live with. That's a 3 strikes you're out, bomb of a sentence leveled on an African American who did nothing worse than trying to buy a Senate seat. Okay, Bernard Kerik, who was the police commissioner, New York City police commissioner, was sentenced to 4 years in prison after pleading guilty to 8 felony charges, including tax fraud and lying to White House officials. But Carrick was a former close ally of who? Rudy Giuliani. Rose to prominence as Rudy Giuliani's
oh my God
chauffeur. Okay. Michael Milken, the junk bond king, the guy that started all the insider trading and junk bond nonsense in the 80s, also pardoned. But here's another one. This is one this is a commutation of sentence. Crystal Munoz was found guilty in 2008 of conspiring to possess with intent to distribute marijuana, according to a petition filed by the Criminal Defense Clinic at Texas A&M University. Ms. Munoz, who was sentenced to nearly 2 decades in prison, drew a map that her friends used in a large marijuana trafficking operation. Over the past 12 years, Ms. Munoz has mentored people, volunteered with a hospice program while serving in state prison. Okay. Judith Negron. This is like follow the money. And I'll bet you that this person connects up to Rick Scott. I'm 100% sure. Judith Negron. Judith Negron was sentenced to 35 years in prison in 2011 for her role in orchestrating a $205 million Medicare fraud scheme as the owner of a mental health care company in where? Miami, Florida. Ms. Negron has served 8 years in prison, and her prison warden described her as a model inmate. So I just wanted to mention those because what they're going to do today is they're going to tell you about all the minorities they pardoned as cover for having pardoned Blagojevich, Carrick, what's his name? Milken. Did I get that right? Gosh darn it. Yeah, Milken and DeBartolo. Right, they're going to tell you about they're working hard to, criminal justice reform. These are Latinos and African Americans who have been pardoned or had their sentences commuted, and look how awesome we are to cover for pardoning these shitheads that are white collar criminals that stole billions of dollars from people and fraud and taxes and blah. So I just wanted to make sure that we say that when your argument is he only pardoned. No, they're going to make the argument, we pardon minorities. Aren't we awesome? We love the blacks. That's what they're going to do. Yeah.
And that was like the entire Super Bowl freaking love-in, was it not?
What?
Didn't like the Super Bowl ad that he took out was all like, oh, look, I saved this one black guy.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. Maria, how do you know Bloomberg will not pick a conservative SCOTUS? He was a Republican and will protect his self-interest. That's why he's in the race, to save the country from socialism. Well, why don't what we have right now? We have an opportunity to ask him who his Supreme Court picks would likely be, what that would look like in the campaign. We have the moment to ask him to identify who would be his, what kind of judges would he pick for the Supreme Court. That's what the campaign's for, right? We don't know what anyone's going to do. We just don't know. We didn't know that Trump was going to be this bad.
Yeah.
Or at least we thought he'd be held accountable.
Yeah, the whole Bloomberg is being a Trump in sheep's clothing. I mean, that's just it's just not true, right? Mm-hmm. Like I'm not saying that I would agree with very many of Bloomberg's positions, but it just Bloomberg is not going to destroy the DOJ for fun. Bloomberg is not going to completely and totally fuck Europe over and basically hand them to Russia as far as getting rid of NATO, which is exactly what Trump is trying to do. Bloomberg is not going to put fucking tiny human baby kids in fucking cages, right? Like making this comparison is ridiculous. Am I a Bloomberg fan? Fuck, of course I'm not. But like everyone seems to be forgetting how fucking bad Trump is, and you have to show me evidence that Bloomberg has actually done things that are that bad. And again, I know there's tape of him saying a couple things that are really, really bad and really, really annoying, right? He was, mayor, and like stop and frisk is a serious pain in the ass. Like as even a white guy thinking about it, obviously never had to deal with it. It would be really bad, but like it just that at least he shows the self-awareness to say like, yeah, that was wrong and we fixed it.
So Maria asked a pertinent question that I want to. I get it, but the optics stink to high heaven. How do we justify being the party of working people and pick someone like Bloomberg? But we are apparently I understand that.
Well, maybe, right?
Polling is tricky. Believing in polling is something you want to be careful of. You want to be cagey about. But I actually would think that the Bloomberg campaign is happy that all this is coming out now and not 2 weeks from now, right? Get the yips, get it all out. Right now, so that he has time to counter it before people start voting on Super Tuesday. And on Super Tuesday, he's going to do pretty well if the polling is indicative, he's going to do pretty well. So we're connecting with each other, right? We're connecting with each other on the problematic and heinous things he has said and done, but it's not reaching down to people who are being polled, because there's a pretty big rise in his polling, and I have a feeling it has to do with getting saturated.
You have a feeling it has to do with close to $500 million in ad spending? Weird.
Yep. and that may rise as high as $2 billion before this is over.
Right. And not all, but the vast majority of it is anti-Trump. And when you talk to Democrats who are voting in primaries about the thing that is animating them the most, it's freaking Trump. Right. So he's just making that cold, calculated thing. So Bach said Bloomberg is holding the Democrats hostage, in my opinion, much like Trump did. I think it's actually a lot more Bernie Sanders who's holding the Democratic Party hostage. Yep. Shots fired. And the reason for that is, again, while I agree with, frankly, the majority of his positions from an ideological standpoint, the rest of the Democrats don't. And he's putting ads up right now saying you're either with us or against us. Right? Like targeting anybody who would think that Buttigieg or Amy Klobuchar would be good picks. And, that's exactly what Trump did. So it's messed up. I mean, the biggest thing with Bloomberg for me, the biggest positive, is that he has dedicated. If he's pledging $2 billion towards this campaign, he's pledging it if he doesn't win to put towards the Democratic nominee regardless. And I mean that doesn't feel like holding the Democratic Party hostage to me.
And I have some pertinent information I can't really talk about really publicly that's a thing that's actually going to happen. That it's not that he's just saying he will support the nominee, that he's going to pay people to support the nominee. That's the read I get. I'm saying something I really shouldn't talk much more about right now, but it's worth stating to you that he's going to spend this money whether he's the nominee or not. And you need to be thinking about whether that's really a great thing for whoever the eventual nominee is. And the answer is yes, it is.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, it's, and I mean, how many times have we talked about this, right? Do we think that buying elections is good? No. It's horrible.
Want Citizens United overturned? Yes.
100%. Right. But I mean, like on the flip side, and Rachel was actually talking about this last night. Does anyone really think that Trump won't immediately start public investigations from the DOJ to the top 3 Democrats once that lineup gets established? Does anyone seriously think that won't happen?
Right.
Right. And it will be done, callously, because he is now completely and totally in control of the Department of Justice.
Yeah.
So we don't have to win. We have to win by like 5 points. We have to win in this presidential election in a way that we've never won before, or just forget about it. Like literally, it'll be done. You want Stacey Abrams as president someday? Fuck you. It's going to be the theocracy of Donald Trump for the next 50 years.
And he keeps making left-handed comments about staying in for a 3rd or a 4th term. Don't
it's
think
not
he
good.
Won't try it. He will.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big old mess.
Here's the other thing. If we begin to it's early days, right? Again, only 2 primaries so far. Well, a caucus and a primary so far.
Yeah.
Right.
And really
the big
only
days
one
are coming in the next 30 to 60 days.
That's right.
By mid-May, we're going to know. We're going to have a narrow field of people we can really get behind to begin to suss out their comparative value. But the ultimate goal has to be that Trump only serves 1 term. And I'm for whoever makes that happen. I'm for whoever unlocks cages and lets kids be reunited with their fucking families. I'm for whoever puts the information about transgender issues and LGBTQ issues back up on the White House fucking website. That's who I'm for. And the answer is unequivocally, that's not Trump. And in the comments, somebody said, well, is it better to back the devil you know or the devil you don't know? At this point, there is one devil. There's one. There's one proven, fraudulent, shitty human being that is hurting people and our environment and our regulatory process. And he's in the White House. And anything that gets him out is what we need to do.
That's the thing. Like, and this, I had this conversation with Rio about Bernie, because he's, doing this freaking never Bernie bullshit or whatever. what you're saying is Bernie might be bad for all of these assessments that I've argued the vast majority of them are ridiculous, but you still hold that view. That's fine. He might be bad, or Donald Trump,
who we know.
Right. Exactly. Bloomberg might be bad, but Donald Trump, right? Like that, the way, to me anyway, the way that math works out is the devil you know is literally the one that you need to solve, because we don't actually know necessarily if it would be, not only bad or anywhere near that bad. And my humble opinion is that it can be deduced that neither one of those candidates would come even remotely close to being as bad as Donald Trump. And so the way is clear.
Yeah. Yeah, but Vera, I want Trump removed, but by the U.S. Marshal Service. That'd be great. But it's looking less and less likely, right? It looks like we have the ultimate say, which is, it's on us now. The day they acquitted him, that's what I posted on Facebook. Well, it is all up to us now. And what we're doing right now is, this is the time for it. It's rowdy, it's burly, it's loud, and I'm absolutely okay with that. I'm absolutely okay with us having a vigorous conversation right now about where we end up in November. But ultimately, all of us need to come around, by July, and be ready to go out and knock doors and put up signs and answer calls and make calls for the candidates who are most likely to win, because all of them can beat Donald Trump, but only if we are 100% active in the process, staying home, voting our conscience in a moment when our country's future is at stake. It's not rhetorical. Our country's future is literally at stake right now. Who we are in the world is at stake right now. We were at a conference in Germany this week where our delegation was shunned by the German delegation and several other European delegations. Guess the fuck why? Because we have made ourselves a belligerent, non-cooperative, shitty partner to Europe in the past 3 years. That doesn't change if Trump gets a second term, and that just makes Putin's hand so much stronger. He could invade Estonia. What do you think Trump would do about that? If he invaded Estonia after all the success he's had in Ukraine, what do you think we would do about that? Would we really support NATO? Would we go to war with Russia over Estonia?
Jesus.
Which is one of the stepping stones to Germany.
Yep. Well,
I can't imagine why they're mad at us.
Estonia is the hotbed for blockchain democracy. And
is it really?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
They're running their entire government on blockchain. It's awesome, actually.
Well, I can't imagine why Putin would want control of that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He can't.
He could just destroy it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Destroying it would be great, but you can't hack it. Yeah, exactly.
You can just disassemble it and move it to the Urals.
Right. Not good.
There you go, Jareen. After reading Blowout, defeating Trump feels very, very urgent to me.
Thank you.
Yep. And the new book that's out, The Dark Towers, about Deutsche Bank. I haven't waded into this one yet, but Jesus.
I would love to get a read on how many times the phrase Panama Papers happens in that book.
Right. That's your pet on the shelf theory, and it's looking more and more.
My pet theories is growing legs.
Yeah.
Quickly. Yeah. But I mean, it's not like it's a major, assessment. It's just drawing darker lines where all of the lines already exist.
The connections between Russians in Florida real estate, the funneling of vast sums of oligarch money into Trump businesses by way of Deutsche Bank should scare the shit out of you. Thank you, Donna.
I just randomly look over at Twitter.
Laugh track, everybody.
Hi to laugh track. I just looked over at Twitter, and Independent for UBI just said, "What the fuck? I love CNN now." You pickle weirdos. I love you guys. Whew. Yeah, Deb said NATO doesn't trust America at all. How could they?
Yep.
Right? I mean that.
Yep. Love the Wilderness podcast, Bob. I've been a fan of that podcast from day one. It's season 1 is the best thing ever. It's a history of the Democratic Party, and I'll tell people it's 9 episodes. They're like, holy shit, I'm not listening to all that. No, listen, it's really, really good. And
It
season
is.
2 is building on it. The one about the Southeast, I know people in that podcast. I know people who are part of the machines that they talk about in that podcast. And it's pretty remarkable to have the validating experience of having seen exactly what they're talking about in the Wilderness podcast, borne out by my experience in that election cycle. Pretty cool.
So, yeah, Seth on Twitter said that now that we know that President Warren, hashtag President Warren, is in a statistical tie for second in the nation's largest state, while Amy Klobuchar is at 5% and way behind the pack. At what point does U.S. media decide to give Warren even 50% of the coverage it is now giving Klobuchar? Just curious. And that's the thing, right? Like and these media narratives and directions can become self-fulfilling prophecies pretty quickly. See as example, Yang media blackout.
Yep. Hey, Maria, this is relevant. I want to ask, have you listened to the Wilderness podcast series by John Favreau? She's asking what's also going on during this mess is what the Democratic Party is going to be and who they will represent. How the heck did we end up losing all our power in 2016? The Wilderness podcast answers that question.
It really, really does.
In a really profound and beautiful way. And it's inspiring. And I'm getting choked up thinking about it because I remember driving to and from work in the 2018 season. This was my fight song every day was, one episode of The Wilderness on my way to work in the morning. And it's us. It's us. It's us not going to Democratic Executive Committee meetings in our county. It's us not volunteering to go out and canvass for our local candidates, for Brandy Goyette and for Danny Antonino and the other Democrats who are running in our county for state legislative and county administrative seats. That's how we got here. How we got here is we trusted some big national apparatus to do the work that needed to be done at street level in our county, in our town, in our state. And that's what the Wilderness talks about. And it talks to the people who actually do the work. So you should absolutely check it out if you haven't. It's good stuff.
I actually got to finish the ones that released recently. And just as an added, holy shit, Greg is right. Greg was telling me to listen to the Wilderness for at least 6 months before I did. And this is still like, I think I'm at like 67 out of the necessary 900 apologies for not listening to it. Stop. The second that he told me to. It's that good. It really is. Like it's everything we talk about all the time, plus really, really intense data. They did a bunch of focus groups. And
which are infuriating, by the way.
They are. They really are. Right. But it's stuff that's out there, right? And we need to figure out a way to deal with that. So exactly what Maria said. Look, we need to figure out what the Democratic Party is going to stand for again now, right? Now, that said, in 2018 they did it, right? Like they hit the ground running on healthcare and we're hitting Trump in some decent ways. But they put a coalition together that historically won the House, right? And so now, we just need like an upgraded version of that to get, and honestly, like, here's the other thing too, like if Mitch McConnell is still the leader in the Senate, nothing we're talking about now with presidential candidates means a fucking thing. None of it.
Yep.
You don't think Mitch McConnell will just say, no, we're actually not going to confirm any judges ever again because fuck you.
And you know what guarantees he's gone? A huge turnout for the Democratic nominee in the 2020 election, because that will roll downhill and it'll be a bloodbath in the Senate races if we have big turnout for Dems. That's what we got to do. Jareen, I'm so proud of how locally involved you are. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like we did a lot of the Coffee on the Dock stuff in 2017, 2016, 2017. We did in a bubble. It was just Corey and I and a few guests. And we thought we understood voters. And then in 2018, I had the experience of knocking something like 20, 30,000 doors in my county, voters across all of the whole spectrum, because we were out early talking to Republicans and Democrats. We were talking and independents. We were talking to everybody, and meeting people at their door and having political conversations with them is the most meaningful thing I have ever done in politics. Like actually talking to voters where they live, because I had some real misunderstandings of what was important to them. And I was shocked at how underinformed they were about local things that were happening that they were blaming on national politics, right? Why are these homeless people roaming my neighborhood? That's a local issue. The president isn't going to help you with that. Right? Your local elections matter in that regard. And being mad at President Obama because there's more homeless people on your street was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard. But that's what they thought. And so without the opportunity to talk to them about your county commission, your county commission has been talking up this homeless navigation center since 2016, and now they've killed that program. It's a different thing now. It's not going to happen. And even the minuscule family-only program that they put in its place is not going to happen for 2 more years. That's a local issue. You should be mad as hell at your county commissioners about that, particularly the one that posted video after video of the awful outcomes of low-barrier shelters in cities where they work 60 to 80% better than what we fucking do now. Right. So I don't know. I'm on a bit of a rant here, and I understand that. It's because I've had a lot of coffee and no food.
That you're saying that like it's a bad thing. What the fuck do you think we're here for?
Yeah. I reposted a video this morning on the So Local Live Network page and the So Local Pasco page and my personal page that I made sitting on Kira and Randy's front stoop a couple of years ago on the day we went out to watch the vote on the Homeless Navigation Center. And it's 12 minutes you should really watch. I missed that. I missed that fire. That was a good day. And we did it 4-1. And Jack Mariano was the lone dissenting vote. And he's tried to kill it ever since. Brandy Goyette. Vote Brandy Goyette.
Yes. Yes. So apparently the press secretary for Bernie Sanders equates questions on his medical records to a smear campaign. Yeah. How do we feel about Sanders just saying, no, I don't think I'll release my records anymore. I released them before.
I was advised not to talk about my health problems in a mayoral campaign for Port Richey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
there's not
there's
always
so much of my life that's tied to that. I mean, there's so much, so much of why for me is tied to that. I don't know. Authenticity is important, Bernie.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird.
Do you think they're not going to use that against you anyway?
Of course they will.
They tried to tell us that Hillary Clinton was dying of MS because she had the flu.
But now, they're I think the things that are going to start coming out anytime you do something that Trump has done, the rest of the pack will, go after you for it. And this is a Trumpian thing. Just like, no, I'm not going to release shit. Go fuck yourself.
Right.
Oh, and that's a smear campaign or whatever. Like that. No, please. How many times have we talked about how many of these things are just going to become norms that other people start to do, right? Like Biden turning around and saying, nah, fuck that subpoena. I don't have to obey that subpoena. Fucking what?
Right.
Right. So it becomes this thing where one unbelievably horrible human being breaks everything. And then every other sociopath that's going after power. And to an extent, they all are. Right.
Right.
Just. That becomes an acceptable thing in
except for my candidate, Corey. They're all sociopaths to an extent, except for my candidate, who's better than all of them. It is the only one that can win.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we're trying. Granted, I wish you were up here because we're going to try and organize a little a get together with our local progressive organizing dudes on Friday night.
That's fun
for a little while. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
I tell you, I went swimming in the ocean yesterday.
Did you?
0.7 miles.
Nice.
And I only got stung by one man-o-war.
Oh, that's not good.
It's honestly, it's like getting jabbed with a very big needle full of hot sauce.
Yeah, that's accurate. You have a nice red stripe across you because I've had that.
It was actually, I think it was a really, really tiny one. Thankfully, it was really local. The hit was really localized.
Right.
But yeah, getting a full tentacle, and I'm pretty sure it was a small one, but getting a full tentacle full of those things, it would have been really bad.
Did you see the video I posted the other day of the 20-foot great white shark not 15 miles from where you were swimming?
Yeah, it was not right where I am. Yeah, because they can travel 150 miles a day, but I don't care.
Yeah. I saw Jaws. People were on the beach were perfectly fine while that shark was eating people.
Yeah, he barely ate anyone, really.
Shark was just misunderstood.
Statistically speaking, the population that he managed to murder was very small.
Right. Yeah. Oh boy. No, I will swim in the ocean, but I got to tell you, on days when the light level is low or the water is murky, I'm a little more circumspect about being along the Atlantic beaches on days like that. Because misidentification is most shark attacks.
Yes,
and I'm not excited about a shark taking a fist-sized chunk out of my thigh.
Yeah,
I thought I was something else. Not excited about that at all.
No, and it was actually it was really wavy, and when it's wavy, the kind of gets a little bit cloudy or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was on my mind.
Yeah. Hey, I saw a thing the other day that I didn't know existed. That it's one of those things that I hope I can ever get myself in shape to do it. There is a 1,551 mile ocean kayaking trail that goes from Perdido Key up in the Panhandle, the western extremity of Florida, to Fernandina Beach, just near Jacksonville. A 1,500 mile ocean kayaking trail in 26 segments. Would that be an amazing thing to kayak all the way around Florida?
It would.
Oh, God, what an amazing thing that would be. And there's only 31 paddlers who have done it so far.
Man, that is really, really good. I'm trying to remember the dude's name. Van Jones. Doesn't he work at CNN?
I don't remember.
I think he does. And I'll bet you $1 Van Jones got him this gig. What? Sharks. They bite when you touch their private parts, from the movie 50 First Dates.
I haven't seen that movie so long I forgot most of it. Huh. Jareen, did a lot of kayaking with my folks when I still lived in Montana. Yeah, and ocean kayaking here, especially the Gulf, it's very, very smooth most of the time. It's absolutely beautiful water. You're going to see a shit ton of amazing stuff. Even just doing like a couple of segments of that trail would be phenomenal. Like going from Cedar Key to Sarasota, let's say, in ocean kayaks, man, that would be absolutely amazing. I'd like to do that.
So 2 phrases: highest stock market in history by far, and largest stock market bubble in history by far.
What could possibly go wrong?
Are both the same thing, and the difference between why you should elect me president instead of fucking keeping Donald Trump.
Right.
That's one thing that frustrates me about all the Democrats, is that they're not drawing this link. Like every time they talk about the economy, they do this a little bit, right? Like the economy's not working for the average American. That's obviously what's important. But they should also be hitting the fact that this is an intense bubble, that stock buybacks are literally the cause. Tax breaks for corporations that were already rich in cash, like sitting on record piles of money.
Did not use that money to staff up. Did not use that money to innovate.
And could have
to
right
give dividends.
Right, and so they gave these a $2 trillion tax break to them. And what did they do with it? They bought their own stock back to raise the price.
Yeah, sugar.
I think it's So all of this stuff is hot air now. Like a 30 to 50% correction in the stock market is entirely plausible. And what's really fucked up is if it happens after a Democrat gets elected, it won't be good. That's the thing. You can be guaranteed of this. If Trump wins the second term, the market will fucking crash like somebody shot it with a gun.
I think it's going to happen either way.
I mean, it will, right? But that actually might be the best argument for letting Trump have another term, except for the fact that he would be literally destroying the country while the stock market was going down.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, if we win, they're going to blame the Democrat for it, which is why it'd be really, really cool if the market could just dump in advance of the election, just as a personal favor to me.
Yeah, Ginny Rippert, 2 prescient comments. First, 50 First Dates has an amazing soundtrack. I have to check out the track.
Did not remember
that. It's good. Also, best economy ever, but only giving federal employees a 1% raise instead of the 2.5 due to serious economic issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one of those things is true, Mr. Trump?
Yeah.
One of those 2 things is not true. Which one is it? Using your vested emergency powers to reduce the pay raise amount is only supposed to be used when the economy is terrible and bad things are happening. It seems to me like a way to get a lot of government employees to quit.
So, that's funny. Okay. So, yeah, he's going to be on CNN tonight to talk about the debate. Maybe I'll wear a tie. A, that's funny. B, he's going to have more talking time tonight on a larger potential platform than he got in any of the actual debates.
Good Lord. Good Lord. Hey, guess who else popped up in the news today?
Who's that?
George Zimmerman.
Really?
He's suing Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren.
Why?
For making comments about the Trayvon Martin killing.
Oh, fuck him.
He's a fucking psycho. You know, he's been arrested 6 times.
Oh yeah, no, I know. He's a real piece of work.
Yeah. He sold the shotgun. He auctioned off the shotgun.
Oh, that's crazy. Marita said my raises go to rising insurance premiums. Mine went up 20% last August. That's just.
Yeah. Also, people are beginning to get their tax refunds back and are yelling and screaming about how small they are.
Yeah.
What? The tax breaks didn't benefit you, Mister? I don't make $3 million a year. I'm shocked. Yeah. I never thought leopards would eat my face. Claims man who voted for the leopards eating people's faces party.
Right. If we were making lots of money doing this show, I think I would maybe have transcripts made of all of them. Right? Because then we could go back and be like, hey, remember when we fucking told you this time, and this time? Now, granted, like, no, people with, I mean, they're not going to be listening to us anyway. But we would then be like, hey, we were right. Ha ha ha. Hey, good job. She made it all the way to work and we're still on. Yeah, probably not for too much longer there, Elizabeth, but thank you very much. Yeah, Ginny says, oh my God, Pasco chat and Newport Richie chat is full of people complaining about their tax refunds. Good. Let's go knock some doors. Right? That's a thing you could do. Yeah. That's the thing. Like when this market crashes and everyone is completely and totally screwed, this won't be anything. Now, that said, I thought it was going to happen way before now. So maybe through some, magic, it'll never happen for the first time in the history of U.S. markets. Sure. Okay. Dave Myers, I've been happily banned from Newport Richie chat for 2 years. Why am I not surprised? I can't imagine what you might have said. Or posted banned from Newport Richie chat. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't think I've been kicked out of any of those. They're never happy to see me in the Port Richie chat stuff because I'm critical of some of the things we do. By the way, both the mayor of Port Richie and the mayor of Newport Richie were reelected yesterday because no one else met the deadline to run against them. So congratulations to Rob Marlowe and Scott, the Port Richie mayor, on your reelection. I hope you do a good job. It ain't me, ain't gonna be me. So, but pay attention to Port Richie politics in the next year. Yeah, it'll be intensely predictable. And I think again, there's the moment when we really need those transcripts because I have a feeling I will have been right about some things, especially if Jack Mariano gets reelected. By the way, he's making noise about having a town hall in Port Richie to talk about dredging options for the city of Port Richie. So, which helps him. So that's cool. That's local politics. Yes. Oh, check this out. So yeah, the Sanders National Press. This is actually a Joe Walsh share on Twitter. Sanders National Press Secretary said she would not answer when asked if Bloomberg would be a better president than at real Donald Trump. This is the fucked up world we live in now. Joe Walsh, fucking Joe Walsh, said it's a simple question. The answer is yes. Any of the Democrats would be better presidents than Donald Trump. Fucking Joe Walsh. Can I just say I think I need a shower now that I agree with Joe Walsh? Seriously, I need like an inside my mouth and brain shower. Fuck me. Come on, man. Let's see. When I said Bloomberg is holding us hostage, I meant that he's bullied his way in with money and he's positioned to drag us back to centrism. That's true. That's a likely outcome. But we need to talk about a trend, right? Because Bloomberg is not the end answer to anything, and we have an astonishingly good set of much more progressive women, on the path to potential runs for the presidency. Yeah, like, would Warren be 100 times better than Bloomberg? Of course. Like, right. Jesus Christ, of course. And honestly, like if Bloomberg wasn't an asshole, he'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna pick, frickin' Elizabeth Warren," and just say, "Yes, we need to balance things out." But she's got a more pragmatic approach or whatever, and then just back her because she isn't going to go in and destroy capital markets. Yep. Or try to. Bob's saying, trying to sort out my feelings about people still voting for Andrew Yang, even though he left the race. It's the primaries. The downside that I see is that candidates are going to raise money on how well they do in primaries. Yeah. And if we're making it more difficult for candidates who are still in the race to raise money,
by voting for someone who's not in the race anymore, I think that's a negative outcome. I understand it, and I can see why you'd want to do that. By the way, while I'm on the subject, Super Tuesday happens before our Florida mail-in ballots are due. So please, if you still have your mail-in ballot, don't fill it out until after Super Tuesday, because some people are likely to drop. And I've already met some people who have voted for people who have dropped out of the race, and we don't want that to happen. So that's my only comment about that, Bob. Is I understand, having mixed feelings about that, but again, the reason I wouldn't do that personally is because candidates who are still in the race are going to raise money on their outcomes in the primaries, and if we're voting for people who aren't in the race, we're not giving them that number they need to get more money in their coffers to win the nomination.
Yeah, we talked about it before. I think Greg's point is a very, very good one. I am a firm believer in voting your heart in the primary as an ideal and as a concept. That's where you should be allowed to do that, so that you can sort of voice your position and create a longer term narrative that maybe gives your candidate's platform more weight potentially, right? But that has been translating for a lot of people in the Yang Gang to thinking they should do that in the general, which is literally like pulling a gun and shooting yourself in the balls.
It's like being an independent in Florida.
It's just what you're really saying is you've got enough privilege to not have to worry about the destruction of protections that Donald Trump is actually doing. You're fine, so everyone else can go fuck themselves, is what you're saying. It's not good.
Thanks,
and
Bob.
Andrew Yang himself is going to support whoever the Democratic nominee is. Yep. So, ask yourself why that is.
I actually have to go after work tonight. I'm almost sad I'm not going to be watching the debate, because it would be interesting just to see Andrew Yang's coverage of the debate. That'd be pretty cool.
To the best of my knowledge, only Tulsi Gabbard is explicitly backing UBI at this point.
Yes, but she's also explicitly backing the Russians and
and honestly, like
India. So
she's gonna drop out before too long anyway. Like she's not gonna be around.
I would think so. I think the current candidates shy away from it. Dave Meyer says we can't even get together a simple healthcare package. People's heads explode when you try to think past that. But I tell you what, I think if one of the leading candidates picked it up, and I think the most likely person to do that would be Bernie Sanders.
Greg, he's explicitly said the federal jobs guarantee is much better than UBI, and UBI is just UBI. And this came out of AOC's mouth and is the worst thing she has ever said. It's a Trojan horse for capitalism, Greg, which sets everything up, because socialism, like everybody who's calling them socialist all the time and anti-capitalist, it's just handing them ammunition.
Wow.
It's Elizabeth Warren. If Elizabeth Warren finishes reading A War on Normal People, I think she would come to the same conclusion that everybody who has read that book comes to at the end, in the same way that the people that actually read the fucking Mueller report were for impeachment 5 seconds later.
Right. I actually think that the best argument that you can make to your friends and neighbors about UBI is decoupling value with work or worth with work. Like,
right.
I think the best argument for UBI is, how are housewives part of this new jobs economy? How does a federal jobs guarantee account for women who raise their children, or men who raise their children at home? It doesn't give them anything, right? So making it possible for people who take care of sick relatives in their homes, their fathers, their mothers,
and there's going to have to be a lot more of that too.
That $1,000 a month is decoupled from having to get a job at a time when we talk about work requirements for welfare moms. How is a person who is working 35 hours a week to maintain their welfare benefits, how are they empowered by a federal jobs guarantee? They're not. But $1,000 a month in their bank account would make all the difference in the world, and that's why it's a better plan. So, yeah. If Liz does a town hall down here, I promise you that's the thing I would ask her about. Have you finished reading A War on Normal People yet? And she would know exactly what I was talking about. Yes. Yeah. Sherry, hi, stay-at-home mom here. I would love UBI. I work from home for a few hundred a month, but I still don't feel like I'm contributing enough. Right. And that's the thing. We've all been trained that if we're not working, we're not contributing to society. you know, and I struggle with the fact that what Corey and I do is something we don't get paid for here, but I think we're maybe making a difference, and $1,000 a month would actually really help us do that better. And I think of all the other people I know who are invested in community service projects to their neighbors, their friends, taking care of other people's kids so they can work, you know, taking care of their grandkids so their kids can work. Why are we coupling someone's worth with how much they earn? That's end stage capitalism at its worst, and we could stop that.
All right, this whole CNN thing and not actually being in the race, I'm starting to get more fascinated with. Andrew Yang just tweeted out, we'll likely live tweet the debate tonight, and again, he's gonna have more coverage of that than actually being on stage and not being called on.
Right.
What?
Yep.
And this is the thing, like, increase your profile. The Yang Gang is still very hungry. They're not going anywhere, right? And, you know, Seth was actually asking me from the Dividend Report was asking me about whether I think it's going to be a brokered convention. And I'm like, I'm not getting into that. Or it might have been Chet, actually. I'm not getting into that right now. I'm going to keep my powder dry on that one because before Super Tuesday, it's all academic. We just don't know, right? So I don't want to bother, but it's not like it's zero probability, right? You know, if we've got a 3-way tie coming out of Super Tuesday or anything similar to that, then people need to win 55% of races moving forward to have a clear shot. That's gonna be very, very hard to do, right? To suddenly go from 25 or 30% to 55% in state after state after state after state, and then you're going to have people like, you know, Andrew Yang and the Yang Gang. They're going to be asking. Right. And they'll be asking all the candidates because it will be about creating a coalition at that point.
Right.
And you know, I wonder, like, that people get all worried about that kind of thing because, you know, the smoke filled rooms and the all or whatever. But, you know, I've been calling for the Democratic Party to create a coalition ticket for a long time anyway, as opposed to just saying, like, you know, fuck it. Let's ignore the fact that we're a Big Ten party and that we don't all agree on all the same things. And we could give all of our, you know, we could focus on what we agree on first, but then give each other a voice at least about things where we disagree. Yeah. Anyway, who knows?
I'm rewatching West Wing, and every episode is a lesson in how fucked up our current timeline is. Like watching them struggle with the idea of going to the White House Council, you know, watching them struggle with moral decisions. When I know what's happening in the White House now is nobody's struggling with these moral decisions at all. There's no struggle. They're just doing whatever the fuck they want. And I believe that both moderate and progressive candidates could do a better job of managing that in the White House than what we have going on currently.
Yeah. So, yeah. Maria said a not-for-profit healthcare system would put close to $1,000 a month in my family's income. We should start there. That's good for you. And I'm for that explicitly, as you well know. But that doesn't help anyone who's homeless. That doesn't help the working poor. I mean, it gets them healthcare, right? So I should say that. Look at that's a thing that
but they have to be able to access the healthcare. People who are homeless cannot get to
it. Can be hard, right? But I mean that, you know, it having that be the first priority, especially considering, like, you know, UBI needs some time to cook in the public consciousness anyway.
Right.
You know, I'm absolutely for that. And I love how you put, you know, a not-for-profit healthcare system. I really like that you phrased it that way, because a public option would also be that.
Right.
Like a public option with a guarantee that everybody's going to have access to it is huge. It's really important.
Yep.
It would be a start anyway, and would make health insurance companies.
It would completely take, like, when the whole thing that blew up in Nevada over Pete saying union workers in Nevada really want to keep their healthcare plans. Fucking no. If they didn't listen, this is what can happen. Right, you decide that you're going to do a work action against your employer, and they take away your health benefits, or they change the health benefit plan.
Honestly, you know, the biggest union in Nevada literally said that, though, Craig. Yeah, seriously, 48 hours ago, they said we're not going to endorse Bernie Sanders because we, as a union, disagree with what he's doing. Because and this is what's really sad. They, as a union, have negotiated for very, very good healthcare, and it would be taken away from them potentially. Right. Their you know, perceived potential for loss is high because they're doing good now and they're not paying attention to the fact that if they lose their job, they would be totally screwed.
Right. That's my point.
But that's true for everybody, right? Like, if you've got
a single payer system would mean that employers cannot use that as a leveraging or hiring tool.
Right.
And employers only started using health insurance as a benefit because it was cheap in the 50s. That's when they started doing that. They had trouble retaining people who were seeking better opportunity. Taking that off the table helps both parties. I know employers don't want to hear this, but I had a conversation with a local business owner that employs somewhere around 150 people, and I asked them what their monthly was for health insurance for their employees, and it was shockingly big. And I said, imagine what you could do with that money if you didn't have to pay for their health care every month. Oh, but my taxes would go up. Not that much. Clearly not that much. So I think that's where the fight needs to be, is people that have means and have protection for themselves need to be thinking about everybody that's unprotected and untreated. And I just want people to have health insurance. No, fuck health insurance. I want people to have health care. I want people to have access to doctors. And health insurance hasn't done that for a lot, way too many Americans. And where it is implemented, it's tied to your employment. People that can't leave horrible jobs, maybe abusive job situations, because they have a family member who requires insulin. I don't think that's where we should be living.
I mean, we can do better. It would be easy to do better.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of.
That's why the company I work for has all part-time employees, and I know a ton of people in this town that work 30 to 32 hours a week, so their employer can avoid having to pay for health insurance. Let's take that off their plate. Let's take that off their plate of worries.
Oh man. So that press secretary for Bernie also claimed that Mike Bloomberg has
I lost you.
Suffered heart attacks, which isn't true. Am I still there?
Yeah, you are now.
Okay. So the press secretary for Bernie is basically saying that Bloomberg had suffered heart attacks. So, like, why should we have to release any more stuff?
Is that true?
It's not true. That's what's fucked up. She actually tweeted about it later, saying, "Hey, he hasn't had heart attacks. He had the same stint operation that Bernie Sanders had. Didn't apologize for it, just corrected it. So I mean, there's that." But Mike Bloomberg, spokesperson, came out instantaneously on CNN to say it's a lie. Bernie Sanders is the Trump of the left. Ugh. I'm telling you, they're gonna keep doing that, and it will work. So. And this is the thing, like, Bernie Sanders should have been correcting the Bernie bro thing fucking 4 years ago. Right. And just said, oh, no, I can't police everyone in my campaign or whatever. No, but you can police the culture. If you're going to use anger as the fuel for your entire campaign, this is going to happen. Right. Yep. Yang was talking about all the fucking same things, all of the same things that you're talking about. But he went with humanity first instead.
And spanking down the more Nazi white bullshit people that were supporting him, like, in a harsh way.
We kicked the alt-right out of the fucking Yang Gang in less than a week. Yep. It just that kind of thing. And but think about this, not even that, which was well done. I think the humanity first thing as part of the culture was the whole driver. Like, right. Even to the point of pissing me off, where he was like, celebrating Trump supporters in the crowd. But he's right and I'm wrong.
Yeah,
like that's real, right? Like my anger is palpable. You guys are suffering it all of the time, but at the end of the day, like that anger and righteous indignation is not how to heal the country. It's just not.
Right.
And it has down ticket effect, down party effect, down culture effect, and you see it all the time in people. In the Yang Gang, that enemy, like, hey, we're actually not being humanity first right now. Like, why don't we do that? Let's take it. Like, that happens all the fucking time, right? Whereas the Bernie Sanders, and what's Spickle from the Wilderness? Apparently on
John Lovett, Tommy Vitor, Dan Pfeiffer.
Yes,
only four of them.
It was John Favreau. Settle down. John Favreau. I actually shared this. It should be on my Twitter feed if you go over there. John Favreau tweeted out this thing like, hey, we were talking about Bernie's healthcare, and we were, being very supportive of the vast majority of his and praising the vast majority of his followers. But you can see in my comments why people are worried.
Right. And they were on the show, on both the shows that I listened to this week. They had a lot of great things to say about people on the ground for Bernie in Iowa and New Hampshire.
Yep.
Everybody they met was friendly and wonderful and supportive and, blue no matter who. But what happens on Twitter and Facebook is completely different from that.
Right.
But those people also vote. So it is an issue in that case.
And sadly, they also drive the conversation. Right.
Right.
And
right.
it's going to be a huge part of how the media engages with that. And again, you're giving somebody like Bloomberg, who is buying the election, room. And when they say, like, how many times did I say the Bernie bro thing that what couldn't possibly be true because my vision of what a Bernie supporter was A, me, and B, people like Lelena, people working on the ground, people like the nurses group in Pasco County that are working for Medicare for All. That was my vision of it, right? There's no way it's possible. You guys are fucking crazy. I was wrong, right? Yeah. So how many times do I have to defend to people like Rio that comparing Trump and Bernie Sanders is completely and totally ridiculous when Bernie Sanders keeps giving it potential fuel?
Right.
Or again, through inaction, does not create a culture appropriately and with enough depth to stop that from happening. And you're not going to be able to do that by just saying we don't want any people making personal attacks as part of the campaign. They're not going to listen to you. Right? Like it really is a matter of creating a culture in an organization.
So here's I think the recap, right? Here's the recap for today's show. We have a lot of internal strife among progressives, moderates, and Democrats, and even independents who lean our way. We have a lot of strife right now, a lot of internal bickering and strife going on. And all you have to do is go to the Indivisible Tampa Bay and Indivisible Pasco Facebook groups to see it. Ginny will confirm. But that's okay. This is the time. Yip it up, get it out. Get it all on the table right now. Like, get it out of your system right now. But we will have to coalesce around the eventual nominee, whether we like that particular candidate or not. We will just have to. We will have to find a way. And I know that that's not comfortable right now. I know that's not fun right now. It's not what you want to hear right now. But come July, we better have our shit together, because if we don't, we could lose our republic forever. Not just for 4 years or 8 years, forever. And I just want to make sure that that's the thing that we say every time we get an opportunity. Absolutely 100% still blue, no matter who. And informed, intelligent operators from AOC to people in the Bloomberg camp are saying the same thing, that we have to remove Donald J. Trump from office. We have to. And we're going to have to make some compromises to make that happen.
Yep.
No matter what dictatorial tyrant in the world we're fucking talking about, I am sure that the people that did the hard work of removing that dictatorial tyrant were not in favor of every order they received or everything they had to do. I'm sure that there are soldiers that fought, in World War II that had to compromise their personal values and their morality to get rid of Adolf Hitler and the Nazis in Germany. And I respect them enough to know how difficult that must have been, and they fucking did it anyway. And we should be that brave. This is a time for us to be that brave.
What you said.
Sasquatch is real. Friday morning? We're doing a show Friday morning?
Yeah.
Do science-y stuff?
Sure.
Okay, man. I like it.
Maybe a little post-debate analysis?
That would be tonight?
Yeah. Not tonight. If we're going to do post-debate analysis, it would have to be Friday or even tomorrow. Okay. Because I will be Bubble Fizz. By the way, hello. SpaceX booster made a soft question mark water landing 2 days ago. Also, Starship ring stacking is getting on really well. Oh yeah, I've been paying attention to that stuff too. We'll talk about that stuff on Friday. This soft landing, where with how much they've been sticking the landing, something very specific had to have gone completely fucking tits up for that to go the way that it did.
But it didn't explode.
It didn't explode, but it landed on the ocean, which rockets are not good at.
Okay, but they got it back up out of the water, and I'll bet it takes them 3 weeks to turn this one around instead of 1 week.
Do you think they'd actually be able to with all the salt water in it?
Well, this is the fourth flight for that.
But if they can, booster. Could you imagine? It's the fourth flight. We fished out of the ocean and then used it anyway, because go fuck yourself. That would be amazing, and maybe a little crazy, but whatever.
But it also says a lot about their advancements.
Yeah, it does for sure.
But NASA's still going to get us to the moon first, whatever.
I want to say, Maria said, great show. Thank you, guys. I want to say thank you, Maria. I share all of your frustrations. And thanks for sticking around and having the hard conversations with us. Those probably aren't over this cycle for Democrats. Like that, this is probably only the beginning of the hard conversations that we're going to have. Unless they just pick Warren and Yang. And then, somebody else might have hard conversations, but it won't be me.
There That booster is totaled. They'll just use the expensive titanium fins. All right, yeah, well, that's better than throwing the whole thing. That's better than it burning up in the atmosphere. Still better than burning it up in the atmosphere.
That's exactly. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. I'm told. I don't have any personal experience, but I'll bet you titanium fins are expensive.
They're huge too.
Yeah,
I don't think like we should probably cover this on Friday, but I think they're like the casting process for those had to be like invented out of whole cloth.
Titanium is murder to work with. It's
some
really
crazy
difficult material. Yeah.
Anyway,
go back and read about the history of the SR-71, and titanium is complicated.
All right.
Yeah. All right, we ready? Get out of here. We're done with this.
Yeah, man, I was ready to rock and roll after that rant you had, but then we, started talking about spaceships and shit. It was good stuff. So
you can't miss that. The guy wearing a Mars Colony T-shirt is never gonna back away from that. Yeah. Hey, SpaceX is talking about tourist flights by 2021. That's next fucking year.
What the fuck, man?
Yeah, they're talking about tourist flights by next year.
So, A, what did we have for our bet? And B, when are you gonna? No, I know, but like NASA would have to become something. Well, no, Boeing, Lockheed, yada yada yada, would have to become something that it's not to catch up now, wouldn't it?
No.
You still think they could do it?
Yeah. I still think they're gonna beat SpaceX to the moon.
You romantic, nostalgic fool.
That's true. I'm an old guy.
Now, okay, here's the problem. What if they hire SpaceX to go to the moon?
That's a push, right? That's a push.
Think that's a push?
Yeah, absolutely. If NASA administers the moon mission, with SpaceX as a prime contractor, that's still NASA getting it done. So I think that's a push. Can you please reenact the whole show for me? Nope.
Actually, we totally can. About 5 seconds after we stop going live, you can go back to the beginning and just press play.
Yep. It was feisty and fun today.
That's a thing. That's a thing you can do.
Yep. All right, guys. We love you very much. We'll see you Friday. Don't forget. Also, Sunday we're going to do the service from the Cathedral of Reason, or the Cathedral of Gratitude, the Gratitude Cathedral, in our Minecraft server. We'd love to have you join us for that. If you can't get in on Minecraft, you can also join us on YouTube and see the awesome things that we built, and that'd be fun. We'd love to have you,
including my now fully operational octahedron.
Yeah, it's badass. It's fucking cool.
It's ridiculous. You should go check it out. You were talking about having some kind of platform in the middle, and I made like a little glass. That way all the energy from the octahedron will actually just go into you when you're standing in there. Because all this is very real. It's just really not.
Very nice.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate thumbs up on the show. And Sasquatch is in fact